Okay. What it do, Sober Soldier, salute. This is Stick from Dead Prayers with my partner, M1. And you are in tune to gotkushTV.
There was empires in Africa called Kush, Timbuktu, where every race came to get booked. My success to you, even if you wish me the opposite. Sooner or later, we'll all see who the prophet is.
Achomi na jele gbojo kwe ni biane nyenko gotkushTV nyeyiradon. My name is Na Jeli Gbojo Kwe, and right now you're watching gotkushTV. Thank you.
Chercher, je comptais pour nous vivre, je comptais pour nous toutes qu'à vivre en paix, vrai. Ouais, dem chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Ouais, dem chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Ouais, dem chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Chita n'a gardé. Nous c'est tout pour la vie menacée, vrai. Fondé de me chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Fondé de me chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Muncho oulo. Fondé de me chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Fondé de me chanter. Trois problèmes dans le pays, oui. Fais-nous pas qu'à joindre. Le côté pour nous, tout qu'à vivre en paix, vrai. M'obliger chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, obligé chanter ça. Mon compère, oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Muncho oulo, frère, muncho oulo, frère, muncho oulo, frère, muncho oulo, frère, obligé chanter ça. Mon compère, oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. M'obligé chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. M'obligé chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Muncho oulo, frère, oui. Muncho oulo, frère, oui. Muncho oulo, frère, oui. Mes amis, comment nous y est? En bas tête chargée, ça y est. Comment nous y est? Eh oui, comment nous y est? En bas fond corps de ça y est. Comment nous y est? Eh, muncho oulo. Muncho oulo, muncho oulo, muncho oulo. Eh, mes amis, comment nous y est? En bas tête chargée, ça y est. Comment nous y est? Eh oui, comment nous y est là? Comment nous y est? En bas ma suite fait ça y est. Comment nous y est? Muncho hulo, ah, muncho hulo, muncho hulo, muncho hulo.
The God who created the earth, who created the sun that gives us light, the God who holds up the ocean, who makes the thunder roar, our God who has ears to hear, you who are hidden in the clouds, who watch us from where you are. You see all that the white has made us suffer. The white man's God, ask him to commit crimes, but the God within us wants to do good. Our God, who is so good, so just, he orders us to revenge our wrongs. It's he who will direct our arms and bring us the victory. It's he who will assist us. We all should throw away the image of the white man's God. Throw away the image of the white man's God. Throw away the image of the God of the Bakra, the Oyimbo, the Obruni, the Muzungu. Throw away the image of the white man's God, who is so cruel and pitiless, and listen to the voice of the God of liberty that speaks in all our hearts. Aibobo, 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 bon komba, aibobo, bon komba. That was the prayer that Bookman Dutty prayed, during the ceremony at Bokeman in Haiti at the commencement of the Haiti Revolution. All right, and so we begin in that way in honor of our great ancestor and all of our ancestors of Haiti who fought in that rebellion, brothers and sisters. Yes, indeed. Let us be guided. Let us be guided and inspired by their spirits in today's world, brothers and sisters. Yes, indeed, to do the same. Let us be inspired by the example that they set in terms of the desire and the willingness to do what it takes to bring about the freedom and liberation of our people. And let us remind ourselves that their work is an unfinished work, that we as their children, as their descendants, have a duty and a responsibility to complete the work that they started, brothers and sisters. Yes, indeed, we're there. Make we talk, make we talk, make we talk, make we talk, make we talk. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters, make we talk, make we talk. I wanted to ensure that our sister's contribution was able to be viewed as a standalone, video. And so we have initiated this particular show for the sake of facilitating general conversation. So obviously, brothers and sisters may want to expand upon the points that our sister Jemima raised, but it is open house. So we're doing a bit of overtime today. So it is open house. So feel free to raise any points, within the normal modus operandi of Zivanayi. Make we talk, make we talk, make we talk, make we talk, make we talk. All I ask you to do, brothers and sisters, is hit the like button as you come through. Hit the like button. And if you have not hit the like button on our previous conversation, make sure you do so right about now. Yes, indeed. We stand with Ayiti. We stand with Ayiti. We stand unapologetically with our brothers and sisters in Ayiti. Because whatever, brothers and sisters, whatever the challenges that have befallen the nation of Haiti, there has always been the fighting spirit of Bookman and Macandal and even Toussaint and Dessalines and Cecile Fatiman and Facilité. Always among our people in Haiti. And because the Bakra, the Muzungu, their nation states, their corporations, their systems, and their institutions have understood this, they have never left the people of Haiti alone, brothers and sisters. They have never left the people of Haiti alone. And so we recognize that, and we stand with the people of Haiti without apology. And we affirm, as our sister affirmed, that the biggest gangs, the number one gangs, are the gangs that are under this jurisdiction of the United States of America, that are under the jurisdiction of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, that are under the jurisdiction of Canada, that are under the jurisdiction of France, and all of the allies of the same. We affirm that we stand with the people of Haiti. Wherever we are on the planet Earth, we stand with the people of Haiti without apology, because they are our brothers and sisters. They are us and we are them. And as they continue to stand against Western imperialism, let that be an example for the rest of we around the world. But particularly in this instance, the rest of we in the Caribbean, in Jamaica and Antigua and Trinidad and Tobago and St. Lucia and Dominica. Let it be a lesson for us in Barbados and Guadeloupe. Let it be a lesson for us in Guyana and Suriname. Let it be a lesson for us in the Bahamas. Let it be a lesson for us in the Dominican Republic. Let it be a lesson for us in Cuba. Let it be a lesson for us all over the region, brothers and sisters. Let it be a lesson for I and I. Because for too long, for way too long, our people throughout the Caribbean have betrayed our people in Haiti. Politically, economically, socially, spiritually, conceptually. And we don't say all the people, there's always been a significant number of Africans throughout the world and throughout the Caribbean who have understood the significance of Haiti. Let's not neglect that fact. But to a significant degree, many of us have failed to understand and appreciate the significance of Haiti and stand with them and stand up for them. Brothers and sisters, I pray for the day when military forces throughout the Caribbean are agents of Western patronage in the form of the US and Canada and Britain. But I pray for the day that a US army or a US paid army approaches the shores of Haiti, and there is an army made up of Africans from Jamaica and Africans from Antigua and Africans from Trinidad and Tobago and Africans from St. Lucia and Africans from Cuba and Africans from Dominica and Africans from Suriname and Africans from Congo and Africans from Ghana and Africans from South Africa and Africans from Kenya on the shores, waiting for them to protect our people in Haiti. I pray for that day. In the name of Jean-Jacques Dessalines and Bookman and Macandal and Queen Mama Cecile Fatiman, I pray for the day. Let it be. Aibobo. Let me bring through brothers and sisters. The link is in the chat, brothers and sisters. The link is in the chat. The link is in the chat. So if you want to come through, feel free to click the link in the chat. And, you know, yeah, man, we just have to, you know, work with the ancestors right here now because, yeah, you know, it's time to say that. All right. Okay. So we have 2 brothers who have joined us so far. The link is in the chat, and I'm going to pin the link to the top of the chat right now. So if brothers and sisters want to come through, you can click that link. You can feel free to also remain in the chat. Just make sure you at gotkushTV. Please at gotkushTV if you would like for your comment to be read out, your comment or your question to be read out. I'll tell you from now, the brothers and sisters. Yeah, them say forewarned is forearmed. Yeah, forewarned is forearmed. Yeah. This is a very serious situation, right? I will not take no prisoners today. Yeah, the lives of our brothers and sisters in Haiti is not something that I play with. Yeah, and so just as me say, forewarned is forearmed. We not beg no friend, and so all agents conceptually of Muzungu, of Bakra, know that the level of patience with you this evening is very short. May I declare that from early. Forewarned, brothers and sisters, is forearmed. All right. Imhotep, your time, King. Go on through. 1 second, bro. Sorry. Miss Amelia, your devices are not connecting, so I'm unable to bring you through at the moment. Yeah. So once your devices are connecting well, I will definitely bring you through. Okay. All right. Giving thanks. Go through Imhotep.
Please, can I be clearly heard?
Yes, you can, King. By the way, King, sorry to stall you again, Imhotep. I do prefer, yeah, so that you don't look like I'm up here by myself for people to turn their videos on. I tend to be lackadaisical with that. Well, let me just say that from now, yeah. And if you are gonna not have your videos, and I prefer you to have a picture, so just for the sake of quality control purposes, yeah. Having said that, I'm gonna lock off the audio avatars for now, and brothers and sisters can, you know, start out them picture and all them thing there. But I would prefer if brothers and sisters when they come through, just so you know, we're not gonna force it, but it's preferable to have your video on, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, for the dynamics of quality control and the dynamism of the conversation. All right. And brothers Imhotep has seen it as dutiful to bless us with his good looks. So we give thanks. Go on, True King.
Yeah, all right. So, peace, Pan-African power to everybody under the sound of my voice. This is a subject that's kind of close to me, so I think I'll start off with something unserious first, and then get into it a little bit. The unserious thing is that my pops was in the audience today, and he said, so I just want to give him a shout out, you know, because I asked him to take a listen at the on the post show as well. But also he said that maybe he should have been playing David Rudder's Haiti in the background. So I just want to give that shout out as well. Yeah,
Big tune. Yeah. Got you, okay.
A bit business. I've spoken on this panel before about the fact that I'm a politician, or at least that I have political ambitions.
Yes.
And my political ambition specifically is a unified Caribbean with Haiti as its capital. So these the reason for that is because it is my perspective that Haiti really is the spiritual, ideological capital of the entire Pan-African diaspora. You understand? Yes. Of course. And so I really was trying my best in the chat today to be a little patient with some of the detractors today, but the way that people have this sort of visceral, reflexive reaction to the idea of Haiti, I see some people suggesting that, they're having this kind of problem since 1804. You understand? Basically, kind of offhandedly suggesting that Haitians can't govern themselves now, boy. And I do. The sister, Professor
Jemima.
Jemima Pierre, took her time to detail some of the struggles facing Haiti right now. So a lot of things that I never knew that I learned today. So I want to give her, I should have started off by that, giving her a significant thanks for taking the time to come on the panel and give us the kind of information. But yeah, this Haiti thing is really, really close to my heart. I'm glad that it's a series and not simply this one-off show, because I think that if this show is any example, we're going to get a lot of history and contemporary knowledge about Haiti coming out that I think people in the audience will really have no idea about.
100%. Giving thanks, my brother. And yeah, man, she went through a lot. Even just in answer to my first question that I could have gone into greater detail about, yeah. And I understood that the sister's time was limited, yeah. So I felt it was important to get through what we got through. And when she said she had 10 minutes left, I felt it was important to, because she had mentioned Aristide so much, to give some more information about Aristide and what went on there and that historical context. And I think you're right. Many of us are just conceptually incarcerated, so to speak, by white propaganda, and so when not just against Aristide, but just our people in Haiti, yes, but also, my brother, it's necessary for us to appreciate that the propaganda against Haiti is particular because a nation that had the audacity to take up arms and liberate itself, yes, from what was then enslavement, has to be written in the history as a failed state. The example of Haiti must be a depiction of failure because of that successful revolution that came to fruition in 1804. It's the reason why the Bakra imperialist spends so much time attempting to negate the legacy of a such a Kwame Nkrumah, as we were discussing at the beginning of the month. It's also the reason why the Bakra imperialist system felt it necessary to lift the bounty on the head of Mama Assata Shakur a decade ago. For those who are not aware, Mama Assata Shakur is currently one of the top 10 most wanted terrorists in the world, because during the 1980s, she was able to plan, whilst being a political prisoner in the United States of America, charged with the murder of a police officer that she did not commit. She had the audacity to plan and successfully pull off her escape from prison. And so her example, yes, must not be allowed to stand. And so even though she has not been in the United States of America for 30 odd years, she must continue to be demonized. Her legacy, they must continue to run her down because her example is dangerous. Haiti's example is dangerous. And so it must be demonized and cast aspersions on it. They must not allow it to succeed. And when they put all of their machinery around it in order to ensure that it faces challenges, and when it buckles under some of those challenges, and then say, see, them can't govern themselves, and the minions and the peons and the serfs and the knights among us are going to parrot the narrative that our masters give them. I'm listening.
Just for the sake of clarity, you said that they lifted the bounty on her. You mean that they raised the bounty?
Yeah, sorry. Did I say lifted? Yeah. No, sorry. I meant raised. Yeah. So it was $1 million and then raised it to $2 million. Yes. And that was announced by a black FBI agent. Yeah. Who would be in the gentry and the night class, yes, of African agents of Western imperialism, and I'm looking at that because they've rewritten the laws as it relates to extremism yeah, in the UK at the moment. So I'm going to do a show at some point on whether Pan-Africanism is extremism. Stay tuned for that one, as far as UK is concerned at the moment. But when he announced the raising of this bounty, the words that he used was, she continues to promote her terrorist ideology. Yes, terrorist ideology. Okay, so bear that in mind, brothers and sisters. It's the terrorist ideology, yes, that they found very, very dangerous. All right, stay where you are. Feel free to stay where you are. Say Imhotep. Now this next one has stolen one of my monikers. Yeah, I am the Guzum man. So we see the African Guzum man. Well, that is Guzu. I'm sure there's supposed to be an M at the end of that Guzu. But go ahead, African Guzu man.
Yeah, man. Bless up Shaka panel and channel.
Yeah, Guzum. Guzum to the world.
Yeah, Guzum.
Yeah.
So,
Guzum, man.
Yeah, it was a very nice show. Like, she definitely brought a different perspective. Well, on how to look at the Asian situation, and like when she described it as an occupation, you know, it was kind of interesting to view it like that, right? Because in reality, when you really look at it, every couple decades is another intervention, another regime change. It's very hard for anywhere to develop and, you know what I mean, get anywhere. You have so much regime change and stuff. The only thing was like trying to estimate now when we can expect the remedy or, you know, stability to get back in the country now, because everybody seem opposed to the CARICOM coalition. But to me, if we don't go to that, then you're kind of waiting on like an equilibrium to be found between the different forces that's in there now. So it's like, how do we set a timetable on that is really the type of thing on my mind.
Bro, I sympathize with your perspective, Manale. Yeah. At the center of this, there are people. Yeah. There are children and mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and elders. Right? You know what I'm saying? And we don't want no strife. Yeah. We don't want no strife. The thing that humbles me though, and puts things in perspective for me, is that the strife already existed before now. That the people have existed in a state of strife for a very long time. And as far as the recent history is concerned, as far as the recent US occupation, effectively, the last 20 years, yeah, at least. Yeah, that's not to put into consideration all of the other history that we could take into consideration. So I'm mindful, and it's not to challenge what you're saying. It's just I'm just sharing. When I have thought exactly what you're thinking, I'm just sharing my own thought process. Yeah, I'm mindful not to particularize this moment as though the previous moment, the moment that preceded it, was a preferable one or was a more stable one. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, and sometimes people can do that. You know, because you saw a government and you know that somebody was in there called a prime minister or a president or whatever, it gives the veneer of stability when really not really gossip. So my hope is in the people on the ground. Yeah, as I highlighted and as Sister Jemima confirmed, there are forces on the ground beyond even the militias that have been organizing around these issues for a very long time. Yes, and it will take time for those forces to come to the fore. We have to give those forces time to come to the fore. We have to try to support them as and where we can. We have to remember that Family Lavalas, before it was a political party, it was a people's movement. And the lesson that we have to learn is that we have to do more to protect our people's movements. Yeah, our people's movements are not perfect. They're not beyond mistakes or flaws or critiques. But a sovereign people are allowed to make their own mistakes, just that, like all of us. Yes, as adults. Yeah, when we get in the wrong relationship and your elders and tell you, say, listen, yeah, and you don't listen and you're going at it and you get licks. And you have to say, well, all right, you learn a lesson and all these things. That's just the nature of the things. What happens is they allow the flaws and the imperfections and the mistakes that we make in our own movements to be a reason, to be the excuse and the justification for their intervention. And their intervention doesn't produce anything better on our behalf than what the lessons that we will learn from our mistakes would do if we were allowed to do our thing. And so, yeah, I sympathize with your point, though, bro. You know what I'm saying? When you hear about what is taking place and, you know, some of the violence, although our sister has put some of that violence in perspective and suggested that it's not as widespread as they may be suggesting. She has also suggested that for the first time recently, the whatever violence there is seems to be shifting its direction in terms of the elites who have been arming some of these militias and who are in control of the arms in Haiti. And so that, in my humble opinion, would be welcome, to the extent that turning the arms in that direction is actually really turning it against a mercenary force, which is governed by the Americans. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But I would urge patience, and I would urge faith in the people of Haiti. Yes. And I would urge, if we can allow America to make quote unquote mistake after mistake and misstep after misstep and put in power tyrants after tyrant, then we can give our people on the ground in Haiti the grace that they need and the time that they need to solve the problems that they are facing, and calling upon our support as and when they needed. I stand with Ayiti. But yeah, I don't know if you have anything to say in response to that, Meloman, Mr. Guzum. But yeah.
Oh, well, the only thing is, I just think you might have to bring her back for a part 2, because that's actually what would be needed more to have a better estimation of how bad the situation is. Because I hear she saying it kind of concentrated the gangs and militias around like the capital. And, you know, it's hard to tell what exactly the condition is on the ground, because apparently them using 2010 earthquake photos as well. I hear talking about that.
Yeah.
So we kind of just want a better idea what exactly is the condition, because the only thing that can see that demonstrate an escalation is that people landing, you know, on the shores of Jamaica. That's the only thing that would make me think, well, this seem a little worse. Although them been doing that still, like that would happen in any random year, but it seemed a little bit more is the only thing.
Overstood, King, you know. And yeah, definitely we will endeavor to get our sister back, but there are also other guests that we're going to get on as well. And you did hear me ask her about the people on the ground, and so we're going to maintain that focus, yeah, in terms of trying to get as much as possible the voices of the people on the ground. And I don't mind telling you, I am endeavoring to get guests who are actually in Haiti. Yes. I'm sure brothers and sisters can understand that is difficult at the moment, but I am trying to get guests who are actually in Haiti. Yeah. And so as and where that is possible, as much as possible, we will feature voices from the ground, either through brothers and sisters who have the connection or directly from brothers and sisters who are on the ground. So do stay tuned. And we will get those voices on. Right. I'm going to come to you, Imhotep, but give me a sec. Let me get through the rest of the brothers and sisters who haven't spoken yet. Next up is Empress Kush. Empress Kush.
Peace, Brother ShakaRa. Can you hear me?
I can. Welcome. Good to hear your voice.
Yeah, it was. Thank you. I want to say peace to everyone on the panel and in the chat. Bro, it was a really good show. I really enjoyed it. Sister coming with some really warrior spiritness coming through, man. I just really like that. I like the way that she was critically talking about things as well. So that was really, really powerful. Yeah, I know you said that you're gonna keep this on as a series, and I just really think that it's necessary, because I think that things are changing so much in regards to even, you know, is it Kenya?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, it would been good to delve a bit more further in there, because I know that the first one got cancelled, right? They never
Yeah.
actually went, right?
Yeah.
So it's so great to delve further that,
Yeah.
or even getting some family members from Kenya to talk a bit more into that in between the series. And
Yep.
I also feel that when the sister was talking about the surrounding countries like Jamaica and things like that, I think that's necessary to hear it from a Haitian point of view, because I don't think I've heard some, you know, I've spoken to a few Haitian people, and one of the serious worries and narratives is it could be this diasporian war, the fact that you've just got this black faces fighting this black faces, and you're hearing all this propaganda. We're already not getting all the information, and that could be a big issue in regards to, you know, utilizing and using different faces, and people are not really necessarily understanding why, or they think they've got the reason to why, and it could, you know, be propaganda. So there's so much changing things that's happening there. So I'm glad that you're doing a series as well. But I was enjoying the fact that, you know, she was calling out the other islands as well, because it's not just Kenya that's sending forces. I heard that Jamaica has, I think it was Venezuela has nominated some as well. So I mean, we need to hear about things like this, because clearly we're not getting the full information, and we should know that as a diasporan people. And another thing that I want to mention as well is, even listening to the show today, it's very reminiscent of, you know, like how they say that how they kind of staged the Iraqi war, and there's this propaganda, because although they're bringing in Kenya. Now I found out about the other Caribbean countries who nominated bringing soldiers in as well. Quite recently, I saw that the US is coming through anyway. They've started to devise our armed forces to come through. So you've done all of this with, whether or not that's right, I'm sure you can verify that. I think I saw something like that. So my thing is, you've already sorted out to get someone from Africa. You're fiddling around with the Caribbean to interfere. And this thing that happened recently with the airport, which a load of people were saying, you know, this was just, it again was just for propaganda. You know, I just think that there's this big push, especially after what the sister said, in regards to, it's not as, I mean, if you're using earthquake footage, you're really trying to bring out a really dire image as well. So you're just doing all this propaganda that we've seen them done before to justify something, a big move, a bigger intervention, if it could be possible by those people.
100%.
So it's I love the fact that she's very critical, and she's not just feeding into the surface levels, even when she spoke about barbecue, because, and you know me, I was one of the few people that have hope in Sahel. So there was very much reminiscences of, you know, things that I said before, you know, let's wait it out, let's see what's happening, you know. And the fact that they said that, okay, you know what, I'm gonna call it out before them. They said, you know what, I have been paid, but guess who paid for me? And they're just airing them all out. That's you know, that's a, you know, I can understand.
It's a promising sign. It's a promising sign. It's a promising sign.
It is a promising sign. And I'm just saying that, you know, France has just had a bad hit recently, and now this is happening in Haiti. And if I've seen some of the things that he's been saying as well, and there's a very reminiscent bubblings there as well. But if you can also talk to the fact where I heard that they've done a meeting now to start organizing someone to go into power, but they're saying that barbecue might be, because he can't actually go into the meeting, but he's actually involved with one particular or a couple of people in there as well. I know I chucked a lot at you, but that was a big show. So I had all of these questions. I know.
No, it's fine. It's absolutely fine, and I don't mind telling you that all of them I won't be able to answer right now. That's the point of doing more shows on this. It's an evolving situation, right?
It really is.
So we're gonna have to come back to it at different points. Let me just say a couple of things on the Kenya thing. So what happened was about a month ago, basically the people of Kenya were cussing, about the announcement of this police force being sent to Haiti. And because the people of Kenya have some of their own issues with their police, right? But then what happened is that a lawyer in Kenya took the case before whatever the I can't remember the exact name, but the legal system in Kenya is the legal authority. In Kenya is basically, and he was against this move, and so the judges in Kenya basically vetoed the thing, said that this is not legal. What you're trying to do here is not legal as far as the presidency is concerned, and the government is concerned. Now, that lawyer, by the way, one of the lawyers involved in that particular case in Kenya that took the case before the courts in Kenya is Eruku Okot, but he was not working in isolation. He was actually working in concert with other lawyers in Kenya, and also lawyers who are from Haiti, in terms of what was taking place here, the conditions on the ground and so on and so forth. So that's not a story that's very well known, but lawyers from Haiti and lawyers from and in Kenya were collaborating in terms of that case being brought before the courts in Kenya to basically have that particular agenda disavowed, legally.
Beautiful display of black power,
right?
Beautiful display of radicalism.
One of the sisters, who is a lawyer who I know was collaborating on that case, I've reached out to her to bring her on a future show. She's from Haiti. Okay, so stay tuned. I'm not calling her name right here now because I'm just waiting to get a confirmation. But as and when that comes about, we will bring her through. And the brother Ekuru Okot, I have not reached out to him yet, but I will be doing so. So do stay tuned in relation to that particular happening, because it's a very interesting story. Now, what happened was when Henri left the country in Kenya, to work out whatever this deal was, and ratify these things, because basically one of the issues that was stated in the court case is that basically this is not done in consultation with the people of Haiti, or the government of Haiti. This is America, whatever. And so, Henri fly go to Kenya to try and sort this out with the Kenyan government. And it was whilst he was there that all of this has taken place. So the US basically stalled that particular program, so it was no longer viable once all of that took place. That's what I understand has happened since then. But now they're working with CARICOM. So it's CARICOM they're trying to work with now to exert their influence on Haiti. So that is a situation where the Kenya situation is concerned. But
implication for that, if it's so bad on the ground that Kenyan troops can't come, what makes it any easier for the rest of the Caribbean countries to come?
Well, and to be frank, right? All it is that there's a under the Obama administration, the Susan Rice, who was his secretary to the UN, I think it was about this thing called humanitarian intervention. And this was the USA, because this is what Obama's role was, right? Obama's role was to present the friendly face of Bakra imperialism as far as the USA is concerned. And so they institute this policy of humanitarian intervention, which is basically we're gonna intervene but more friendly, what I'm saying, and exert more soft power than hard power as and where that is applicable. And so more and more they're trying to use proxies. They're doing the same thing on the African continent with AFRICOM. So AFRICOM, America's military high command on the African continent, their primary role in that is not necessarily to send boots on the ground from America, but to train pro-American forces among the people them, yes, on the ground, yeah. And that's one of the reasons why you brought up the alliance of the Sahel states. That was one of the concerns that was raised in our previous show. The fact that an anti-French sentiment is not necessarily an anti-Western imperialism sentiment. And so if you're going to kick out the French, but keep American AFRICOM in the building, there's a problem there, right? So we got to watch that. We got to keep our eye on that particular scenario. And so the idea now is not for the West, to go in there, America to go in there and win all it rare, but to get on side enough people in the region to make it look like they're not leading the situation, or they have at least enough agreement from people in the region to that they have a mandate to do their thing. Yeah, so that's the play at the moment, and some of us are going to fall for that, but we have to call it out, and that's one of the reasons why I got the sister on to begin, because she's clear about that. And I did say last week, fire for CARICOM in relation to this particular issue, yeah. So it's just presenting a friendly face of Western imperialism, and who better to do it than Andrew Holness in Jamaica? Who better to front the Bakra imperialist agenda than a member of the British Privy Council, Turated? Sister, feel free to stay where you are. We're going to go on to our next panelist who has decided to join us, Kofi Campbell. Brothers and sisters, the link is in the chat and pinned to the top of the chat. So if you have a comment that you would like to make, feel free to click that link and come through. You can also feel free to use the chat feature just at gotkushTV if you want your comment or question to be read out, and I'll dutifully do so. Oh, I should have also said gratitude for brothers and sisters for being cooperative in relation to the hour earlier start. Yeah, after putting out the whole of the information, I became cognizant of the fact that due to them playing with the moon, daylight saving time had come into effect in the United States of America. So they moved the clocks forward, yeah, in the last week. All right. And so I didn't realize that when I initially put out the information. So I've started an hour earlier as far as the UK is concerned, to accommodate our sister's time. And as you saw, she had to leave, right? So basically, Philip, the time that as far as the US or those on the other side of the Atlantic is concerned, that would have been correct. But the time as far as we was concerned would have been incorrect in the UK. All right. So I want to thank brothers and sisters in the UK for bearing with me in relation to, thank you, darling baby love, honey bunch, sweetie pie. In relation to the UK. For being cooperative with the earlier start time. Go ahead, Coffee.
Yeah.
So it looked like Eshu take away your mic. So you have to evoke the
Haitian spirit is live tonight.
You can hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, Coffee.
Yeah, so I think I'm the oldest one on the panel, so I think I am old enough to appreciate the Thomas Sowell quote where him say, there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs, and we can only hope for the better trade-off. I wish say read more Sowell, the young and idealist, because I distinctly remember 2004 and what them did to Aristide and what PJ they tried to do for him and all of that. And basically there are two proposals. One from people like Meloman, the intervention is forced to bring stability, and one we hear from ShakaRa. I didn't get to hear the professor what was her solution, because I never hear the full thing. But I would love for you to explain what is her solution, or what was her solution if it was different from yours, because yours does sound like, the vague, You have to leave them alone to let them sort it out, let them make their mistakes, give them time, etc., etc. The problem with that is that whenever Haiti try to sort out things on their own, because the society is so fractured, is that Haiti problems become everybody else's problem. Next door in Damarep, Jamaica, Cuba, oh yeah, forget, nobody don't want to go Cuba, and the Bahamas. So there is no real isolated solution for Haiti. Ideally, we can say, yeah, Haitians should be taking care of Haitians' business, but you know, guns coming in from outside, and the different factions have their own cliques, etc. And them really wreaking havoc. So I would have kind of sort of lean towards Meloman that you need some kind of stability now, because I remember 2010 and the Dudus thing in Jamaica, even though it was limited to Kingston and a few other areas, it was still very destabilizing. You understand? It don't have to be all over Jamaica or all over Haiti to be very destabilizing, right? Small pockets, especially in the capital, can wreak real havoc on the country. And for our people that living hand to mouth, just like the COVID lockdowns, gangster lockdowns are wreak havoc more on the poor people. But I am also old enough to remember that outside stabilization forces, it not really work in Haiti. You understand? It don't work because the factions in Haiti never learn the art of politics, which is compromise. Going back to the days of Rochambeau and Dessalines, where one side would slaughter and massacre the other side to send a message, and the other side, when them get the chance, they must slaughter and massacre to send a message to the other side, right? That zero-sum, winner takes all, no compromise view of Jacobinian view of politics dominate Haiti. And Jamaica is not really that different. We're almost there because, again, when the two parties them formed in Jamaica in the 1930s, they also don't know how to compromise. Them also want winner takes all, zero sum. Yeah? And I mean, those who don't know the history of Jamaica, them can read Obika Gray's book, The Mean But Empowered, and Lorraine Gunn's book, Born for Dead, right? It's the same mentality. So even though I lean towards Meloman and the outside force, I know say it not gonna really work that way. ShakaRa vague proposal, that not gonna really work in any way, because in the real world, outside forces always influence countries' political divisions. Whether even in imperialist countries like America, outside forces always going to try and influence the local politics. If the government is going to be powerful and central to determining everybody's life chances, then the fight to control that government going to be very warlike and fractured and no compromising. So I guess me I say, yo, me old enough to know say, why the trade-offs don't look so promising right now in the short term for Haiti. I did say that over 10 years ago with the RST thing. And I remember, again, me old enough to remember, I didn't know the politics in the 80s, but I old enough to remember Papa Baby Doc on TV fleeing and Haiti coming into its own with democratic elections of Aristide and all the narrative around that. And here we are.
All right. I find it very interesting that you use this framework of trade-offs in order to define my proposal, as you put it, although I never put a proposal, as vague, but then lean on a quote-unquote proposal of foreign intervention, you lean to that whilst recognizing that foreign intervention now go work and has never worked. But then also promote the idea that your proposal is less vague than mine. That's a very interesting.
Well, remember
You know,
I said that.
excuse me. Thank you very much. Yeah. So that's a very interesting narrative that has been constructed. The idea that there are trade-offs in politics is not particularly disputable. The issue that we have, however, is that the terms of the trade-offs and the dynamics of the trade-off and the frameworks within which trade-offs take place tend to be defined by what is beneficial and productive for Bakra imperialism. Yeah. And so it is time for that particular reality to be rejected, negated, and fought against. Yeah. The compromises that we are called upon to make are not compromises of, you know, just this particular policy versus that particular policy. You know, it's not even just whether to privatize this industry or nationalize that industry, or no. Generally speaking, in particular in relation to Haiti, the trade-off is the complete annexing of your government and your economy versus autonomy. They're given no other option. And I think the people of Haiti, at least to a significant degree, have gotten to a point whereby they are not prepared to negotiate with terrorists. As the Western imperialist saying goes, we do not negotiate with terrorists. Yeah, they're not trade off. Yeah. They're not put before the word. Actually, in politics, there are no solutions, only trade-offs. So let's call Bin Laden to the table. Yeah, there was a trade-off conversation in relation to Bin Laden. Them not trade off. Them never trade off with Saddam. Well, at least after a point, anyway. Them decided to them go and get rid of Saddam. And after that point, there was no trade-off. At the moment, Israel now trade off with Hamas. Them want to get rid of Hamas. I hate that. Yes. Furthermore, when it came to the independence of what became known as the United States of America, them never trade off with the king, England. Them say fire for the king in good American English. Boston Tea Party. And anybody that was what they call it, what was the terminology again in the American Revolution? A loyalist that was loyal to the king had to flee the 13 colonies as it was then. Oh, that's your neck. You lose life or liberty. You have to run away, go to Canada. Yeah? Or back, go to England. And all them things there. All right? So we recognize that, yeah, under normal circumstances, you know, within the general diplomacy, yeah, you can't always get what you want. You have to engage in diplomacy. Trade-offs, exist. But there comes a point where it's liberty or death. There comes a point where every self-respecting, self-dignified people, there comes that point. We don't trade off our freedom for the sake of what Martin Luther King said, a superficial peace, which is the absence of justice, or worse to that effect. I don't think he used the word superficial, yes, but when he was criticizing the white liberal them, yeah, he said that the white liberal is beginning to believe that they're the greatest stumbling block in front of black people, because they prefer a superficial peace, which is the absence of justice. And as I already said, the game tends to be that they impose for them dictates or use your shortcomings as a reason for their imposition. when this is not done anywhere else, right? You know, nobody says, well, actually, the Conservative Party in the UK can't get their heads together at the moment. The government is failing. Let's call on Congo to come and intervene, yeah, in the dynamics, because the government can't get their heads together. They've been failing for the last 14 years as far as the Conservatives are concerned. They never said that, yeah. Nobody ever says that. Nobody ever said, look, you know, Trump is a presidential candidate that is up for how many different felony charges at the moment? Come McCarley in Venezuela, yeah, for come address the situation, bring some stability to the thing, right? You know what I'm saying? Nobody ever says this, yeah. And if anybody suggested that within the American or the British political establishment, there would be uproar in the nation.
I can respond now.
You can wait. There will be uproar in the nation. So no, we don't infantilize ourselves in front of Bakramasa. It's time we tell Bakramasa for great. And if we make mistakes solving our own problems, those mistakes are our own. I remember watching a documentary one time, you know, I think it was a part of this thing called People's Century, and they were dealing with it was a history documentary, and they were dealing with how nations were decolonizing. They dealt with India, but they were kind of dealing with India and Ghana at the same time. There's a decade between them. Those were the two major nations to you know, release themselves from the shackles of formal British colonialism. And the Indian, I've been watching this documentary since I was a child. You know, my father recorded it when it came on the television and all these things. And the Indian, after them got through the whole of Gandhi and, you know, Pakistan and all the Indian them challenge British imperialism and all them thing there. There was an Indian woman who was a part of the whole thing. I can't remember her name, but at the end of this particular episode, she said, you know, and now, you know, we have sovereignty, autonomy, we're free. And she said, we made some mistakes. Yes, we made some mistakes, but those mistakes were our own. Yeah. That statement from that documentary has always stayed with me since I was a picnic. So no, America made its mistakes. Britain made its mistakes. France made its mistakes, and they continue to make their mistakes. There have been more wars fought in Europe and among Europeans than anywhere else on the planet Earth. Them kill off them way and and savage and massacre them way and all about the place. And now they're leaders of the free world. Yeah. So we go through our process and run back on them and the imperialism.
All right.
And
So
those of us, sorry, sentence, excuse me. Those of us who want to sit up and ape and mimic and monkey the Bakra and sit down on them and fall upon them, make them go and go do it. But leave Haiti alone and leave the rest of the world, self-determination and liberation alone for do a thing and make we want to mistake them.
All right. Like I said, the reality of the refugee problem means that their mistakes aren't their own mistakes, because it spill out on everybody else. So you can't isolate it in that regard. And in terms of the ability for other countries to impose conditions on jihadists or rebel groups, those kind of the same kind of Jacobinian zero-sum thinking and conditions and
no, that's the American Revolution.
Allow me to finish now. Allow me, please. Thank you.
That's George Washington thinking.
Thank you. All right. So yeah, those who solve the problem, everybody know that you can slaughter all of Hamas and all the Palestinians in Gaza tomorrow. That's not going to solve anything. All right. So the next one, you mentioned the revolution and how the revolution in America. the revolution in America never. George Washington did not set out to massacre every single loyalist and British in America. And also, they were open to trade with Britain after the revolution. America was so backward, they didn't even have a financial sector. They had to rely on the British to establish a financial sector in America. You hear about Wall Street, this and Wall Street, that. Well, it's the British that established the financial sector over there. So again, trade enriches.
Kofi, I have a question about that.
Hold on, communists. Hold on. So again, even in terms of trade deficit, they're on a trade deficit with their enemy, the British, all throughout their industrializing era. So, I mean, again, zero-sum thinking, not the best trade-off. And your idealist divide between the revolutionaries and the sellouts, that does prove my point. You have this idea in your head of who you think are revolutionaries and who you think are sellouts, right? So if somebody like you come into power now, you just going to be another Haitian president who them going overthrow because feel zero-sum thinking. Any criticism on you is because you're a background and it just show a level of political immaturity. And it is sad that in terms of maturity, Haiti not mature. Haiti is like you. You don't mature. You don't understand politics. And telling me about what America do and Israel do. That's why we keep having wars and rumors of wars and military industrial complex and exploitation of taxpayers to finance these wars, because they think just like you. Zero-sum.
Okay, thank you very much. We're gonna move on. Yao, your devices are not connecting, unfortunately. So please, wheel and come again, please, Yao. Yeah, you might have to come out and come back again. By the way, brothers and sisters, and I'm gonna come to you, Millerman, and I don't want to spend the whole show or the whole conversation addressing just as a fair warning, misrepresentations and distortions of things. Yeah, the issues of our people in Haiti are too serious. At some point, you know, agents of Bakra imperialism will just have to just X them out of the conversation at some point, right? It's just necessary to do that at some point. At the same time, there are relevant issues that we need to address. Now, one of the issues that was just highlighted is the idea of trade. Yeah, you will notice that nobody has said that Haiti shouldn't trade with anybody. This is not a statement that was ever made. Yeah, you will notice, yeah, that the issue that was raised is what is the terms of the trade, who defines the terms of the trade and the trade-off in political terms. And the analogy to America was that it got to a point whereby George Washington and the boys were not prepared to trade the independence of America. They were not prepared to negotiate on that goal. So once they get their independence and so on and so forth, they're entitled to trade with whoever the hell they want, including the former colonizer, so to speak, which is Britain. Yes, and bearing in mind that they had a vested interest in doing so in terms of maintaining the system of enslavement and so on and so forth, and the rare-tear and the rare-tear. And yes, they did engage in significant relationships. However, they also realized that their trading relationship with, and their trade deficit with Britain at a point became a threat to their sovereignty at certain points, particularly the War of 1812, when they called the War of 1812. Yeah, and so they had to change the trade relationship with Britain. Yes, and run the monarchy, yes, out of the country, at least to a significant degree. So Haiti can trade with America and Britain and France, but the trading relationship that Haiti has with America and Britain and France can no longer be based upon America, Britain, and France's exploitation of the people of Haiti. Why is it all of our trade-offs have to equal our exploitation as far as these people are concerned? And we are called upon and coaxed into with pretty language about it's supposedly political maturity to negotiate yourself into oppression at the hands of other people. This is political maturity. Yes, negotiate yourself in the name of political maturity into not being able to raise your minimum wage for the benefit of your own people because it affects the corporations of another country. That's political maturity. Finally, as our sister Jemima highlighted in our conversation, the first elected president who was at the helm of a mass movement of people was prepared to negotiate. Yes, and compromise. Yes, was prepared to negotiate and to compromise. But when them done with him, them spirit him out of the country. This is the compromising one now. Spirit him out of the country. Even though he compromised. Why? Because there were certain things that he was not prepared to compromise on. So no, we don't make compromises based upon a power dynamic that is designed to preserve Bakra imperialism. It's as simple as that. Yeah, we have to stand firm. At some point, we have to stand firm and organize enough testicular fortitude and what I'm saying, ovarian audacity to confront the colonizer. It's as simple as that. And put some dictates on the table. So no, we're not compromise with this here and that there. The final statement I'll make is this, and then we'll go on to Brother Yao, who's been able to join us. And then I'll come back to you, Melaman.
Love and blessings for all the brothers and sisters. ShakaRa, once again, a pleasure. Blessings.
Hey, bro, I'm not quite finished. I'm coming to you. Hold tight. I'm coming to you.
Yeah.
Give me 2 seconds.
Did it?
Yeah?
No.
That's fine, my brother. No apology needed. Yeah. One of the things that we have to pay attention to, brothers and sisters, is that when people are talk, when them say trade, yeah, that you don't do this, and what's wrong with trade and rate. You notice when they say trade, them never talk, them always talk about trade with the colonizer. Yeah. So when we talk about liberation and the exploitative trade, they say, well, it's not conducive to the development of your nation to close your borders to Britain and America. Yes, and France. As though the only trading options are Britain, America, and France. Look at the Caribbean region, brothers and sisters, yeah? Look at the Caribbean region and trade. Look at the extent to which the Caribbean region trades with America versus the extent to which the Caribbean region trades with itself. Yes? Look at the continent of Africa. Look at the extent to which countries on the African continent, even in the same region, just West Africa. Let's take West Africa as an example. Look at the extent to which West Africa, countries in West Africa trade with each other versus the extent to which they trade with America and Britain and China. To say nothing of the extent to which West Africa trades with East Africa and South Africa and Central Africa and North Africa. So why is it that the dynamic of trade is always, almost exclusively discussed in the mouths of these people in relation to Bakramasa imperialism? Because they are trying to preserve the interests of Bakra imperialism. If trade is essential, why are none of these people seeking to increase trade between Jamaica and Haiti, Barbados and Haiti, Trinidad and Haiti, Suriname and Haiti. Africans in America and Haiti. Not America now, but Africans in America and Haiti. Yeah? Because their interest is maintaining Bakra imperialist access to African markets. That them depend. Why free movement of goods only relate to America and France and Britain, but don't relate to Jamaica and Antigua and Montserrat. It's what go on. Fire for them argument there. We're not begging a friend tonight. We stand with the people of Haiti. I do apologize for this so. All right. Brother Yao, greetings and welcome again, my brother.
Blessings, brothers and sisters. We stand through and with Haiti 100%.
Yes, sir.
I feel a little bit ignorant in this thematic, so I ask you guys help on this because my extension of history is not as deep as yours, ShakaRa. That's why, therefore, here in this channel to learn and share. One thing that I come across is just for the thematics of the music can seem a little bit far-fetched topic to bring into this conversation. But today I was listening hours of Professor James Small. Professor James Small, he's a very conscious brother and speaks the truth. And he said in one of his podcasts, not his podcast, has someone invited, that the history will erase the mystery. So that's, with the quote that you took out from the TV program that your father recorded, this one stayed with me today. It was my lesson today. Therefore, I just think that regarding Haiti, that he said something very simple that I believe that can be an explanation, a general explanation to all the brothers and sisters that are hearing this, especially those who don't have as deep knowledge in this thematic as me. If they are calling factions, militia, and gangs in Haiti that are destabilizing the power, and if one of those brothers and sisters don't have enough to buy a gun, where did the guns come from? Who gave them the guns? Right? It is an intervention. It is an economical intervention, in my opinion, as well, because it's a numbers game between countries. Will always be. And we are taking the lesson from the last program, ShakaRa. What is democracy?
Democracy. Crazy demo. Demonstration of praise. Yes, indeed, River. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we are here discussing, enriching ourselves with knowledge. If we follow the money, like in any TV series, you will see that is the government, especially the Western, of course, can only be, that dictates 85% of the global transactions in the whole world. Of course, if the gun market, if I could, and betting trading 2 years ago with the Ukrainian war and all this, if they are having profits and margins of profit of thousands and thousands %, I'm not talking about billions, I'm talking about trillions. The guns need to be facilitated to those who want to hold the gun with a rage in the spirit to try to impose his. So in the gangs in Haiti, brother, I do believe that we all know it's a Western intervention. We're talking about, Brother Coffee was talking about the markets and how the British markets, how they established with America and how they helped develop all this system, that it was intricate in their own level for the commercialization of slaves. Of course, they want a piece of the game, and they would profit, and they cooped together to arrive to the world that we are today. If it wasn't for the money, like France, like Germany, like all these colonizers did to our brothers in Africa, And our ancestors, we will not be discussing this here today. Haiti's problem will not be a Haiti's problem. Mali's problem will never be a Mali's problem. And all the African, all the countries that are suffering, brothers and sisters, regarding this mathematics, that it's because of money. So sorry, Brother Kofi, I understand. And as you mentioned, as the oldest and the eldest probably in the chat, I don't believe that you are, because our ancestors are with us. They will be a bit offended with some of the visions that, sorry to say, like I mentioned to someone in the chat called Reggie, with all due respect, brother, I do believe that you have your visions, but you have a bit of a white soul. So deconstruct a bit your dynamics and intervention in the world, no matter books you can put out, because I'm an ignorant and I came across in this conversation as an ignorant regarding Haiti's problem. That's why I'm here to learn. But Brother Coffee, come on. You are better than that, brother. You are better than that, brother. And this is my intervention. ShakaRa and all the brothers and sisters listening to this, thank you so much for this information.
Thank you very much for your spirit and your words, my brother. And don't feel no way. I was once ignorant on Haiti too. Yeah, and so we do like to learn. Yeah. In fact, on that point, let me just recommend a book which is called The Irritated Genie. It's a very small book. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, but it's called The Irritated Genie by Baba Jacob Carruthers. Yeah, an essay on the Haitian Revolution. And obviously, one of the classical titles on Haiti Revolution is Black Jacobins by C.L.R. James. Yeah, and you can also, Coffee is holding it up at the moment. That one is also an audio book, your brothers and sisters. So you can get that one. And there's another book called, which is like updated scholarship, called Avengers of the New World, which is also an audiobook. You can get it on audiobook as well. Avengers of the New World. So it features a lot of the information that's come to light, because C.L.R. James was writing in the 30s, 40s, I think, when he wrote that book. No later than the 50s, I don't believe. Yeah. And somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. But the Avengers of the New World features some of the updated information that's come to light since that time. Yeah, it's by a European guy, something Laurent, I believe his name is. I forget his name, something like that. But if you look at Avengers of the New World, the book will come up, and there's an audio book on it as well. Yeah, so for those who are looking to study the history of Haiti, particularly the revolution. So most of those books that I've just mentioned are focusing on the revolution itself, but it's necessary for you to understand the dynamics of the revolution for anything after that to even make sense. Yeah, so just pointing all of these things out. I was correct. Yep. Thank you very much, Imhotep. Laurent Dubois. Yeah, Laurent Dubois is the author of Avengers of the New World. All right. One thing, and then I'm going to come back to Melaman because he wanted to make an intervention. I also want to make this point that it is always required, of Africans to forego armed resistance and put down the arms. Yeah. So what happens is, right, it's an interesting dynamic here. The sister was talking about the fact that they're demonizing and painting this image of Haiti and Haitians as savages, and violent people. The people them have been under a military occupation directly, for the better part of 20 years. Yes, the people of Haiti has suffered continual military occupations consistently for over a century at this point. Yeah. And so what happens is, right, the Bakra sends his military after you. Yes. And when you pick up arms to fight him say, well, why are you violent? And want to slaughter and massacre people. What I'm doing now? Yeah. Put on the arms and deal with trade-off and political diplomacy and, the market. Yeah. Put on your arms. We were going all on to fill arms still, We going all on to fill atomic bomb and nuclear bomb. Yes. And AK and all them things there. We going all on to fill things. But oh no, in the name of trade-off. This is the trade-off now. Oh no. have to put on funeral arms because we are peacekeeping forces of stability, and you are a violent mob that want massacre people. That's the propaganda that we have to deal with. Yeah. So then now the next side to this now is them can flood your nation or your community with guns and arms after thoroughly impoverishing it. And when the poor youth them pick up the gun, but them bring there, them say, look upon the youth, them violent and aggressive and want massacre people. No, we have to go in there with free gun them. Yes? And bring peace and stability to them people that will feed them gun. That's the next side of the thing now. Yeah, not Gossa Rasta. When they decide it's war on terrorism, them not go to the terrorists and say, well, you know, politics is a trade-off, you know. We don't do a zero-sum game and all them things. No, them say terrorism for dead. And the terrorists for dead. And once they subdued the terrorists enough, then them say, well, all right, you know what I mean? You know, come to the negotiating table, you know, and all them things there. Maybe some conversation can go on. Or, and this is the lesson that we have to learn, or when we fight them to the point that they know they can't win, then them say, all right, negotiations for go on now. Come to the table, we negotiate, and all them things there. Yeah, it's only then, brothers and sisters, learn that history. We will learn that from Haiti. We will learn that from the Maroons. We will learn that from the Mau Mau. It's only when them know say, listen, death before the sun, liberty or death, and them know say them can't win. That they go in Vietnam. Little as it's known that they go in South Africa. They knew that if they allowed the more revolutionary forces to continue the battle, they could not win. They could negotiate. You want Mandela out of prison? Come, Mandela, come. Yeah, come, Mandela. Mandela went from being the world's biggest terrorist to winning the Nobel Peace Prize in the blink of an eye. Oh. Guzum.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so I hear Kofi saying him kind of approaching my levels of logic, and it kind of scaring me, right? But the thing that really, the first thing that sparked my mind is where him suggests that America needed Britain to help set up its financial markets after the revolution, right? And I find that interesting because it was just the other day when I was talking about the Haitian Revolution, he was suggesting to us that the American Revolution is what set them off on the way to prosperity and world domination. But apparently, it also needed Britain to set up its financial markets as well. So maybe, I don't know how you make sense of that, because you made it seem like the American Revolution was, you know, the be-all to that success. But apart from that, what really sparked my brain is I think about Somalia, right? So I have the situation in Haiti where the state lose control and it's in a state of anarchy, essentially, or at least that's what them describe it to be. But funny enough, I see different pieces on the internet or whatever, them talk about Somalia and its economy and how it seemed to be surviving and possibly even growing while in a state of anarchy. And it would have shocking to me to see ultra-capitalist Kofi advocating for the return of government control rather than anarcho laissez-faire capitalism. Because this is the perfect grounds now for the experiment to prove yourself as right. The state is no longer blocking the market. The market can do, you know, and people, individual free will decisions and praxeology all of that can happen now. Nothing not blocking it. Yes, eat. Yeah, nigga.
Wow, you're reading, you're reading it. Good.
Yeah, yes, sir. Know that the conditions perfect for the test, right? The market. And that's why I really wondering why you want the state back in power. You should really want anarcho-capitalism. Like, why that's not a position for you.
Yeah.
All right, so let me.
One
Okay.
second. You know what's interesting though. If you look in the history though, it is often at moments like these that they actually directly do that to whatever extent it benefits them. But for them, the market means for them market. Yeah, it don't mean the global market. Yeah, they annex the economy for the sake of their companies to have access to the market. That's what them do. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very interesting point. But I think if we listen carefully to what our sister said, Jemima said, yeah, you will see how the dynamics of how they actually seek to control the market in the name of free market. But go ahead, Coffee. I'll allow you to respond to that one there.
Yeah, you mentioned something about trade deficit and the war of 1812. They ran a trade deficit with Britain even after the war of 1812. The point is that trade
that wasn't challenged. Yeah, that
okay,
that wasn't.
All right,
Yeah.
all right, yeah. All throughout the 19th century, when they got industrialized, they ran a trade deficit. The point is that trade openness is not exploitation. It's improvement in living standard and progress. And the empirical evidence back that up, right? In terms of the minimum wage, again,
in Haiti.
Yeah. The average wage in Haiti is I think it's below $5 or $10. So to raise the minimum wage, cheap labor is a product of poverty. Haiti is dirt poor, right? So therefore, if you establish a minimum wage above the productivity level of the average Haitian, you're gonna put them out of work. All right. So again, she's not an economist like Meloman would say. So she can talk all she wants about the need for a minimum wage in Haiti. If you raise the minimum wage in Haiti, that's going to decimate the already unemployed population. And Aristide, again, he was a leftist. He was no economist, and he never knew anything. So obviously, he wanted to raise the minimum wage. Somebody mentioned atomic bomb. All right, so atomic bomb don't mean anything because Pakistan is still dirt poor and they have their atomic bomb. All right, so obviously you need something else other than a military and a Spartan state to achieve freedom and prosperity. You need liberalism. All right, so and again, you mentioned something about Aristide being the first elected. Again, that is not true. I encourage everybody to read From Dessalines to Duvalier, that book. And even go on Wikipedia and see the sources that highlighted. He was not the first elected. All right? And he talked about South-South trade.
Sorry, Coffee. Correct the record then. Who was the first elected then? Seeing as you do all the reading, who was it?
I think it was the guy preceding Papadoc. Papadoc was the first populist elected, but I don't think he was the first elected. But you mentioned You mentioned South-South trade and why we don't encourage South-South trade. Haiti for trade with Jamaica and the Caribbean. Of course, trade with everybody is always a must because trade, like I said, trade enriches and isolation impoverishes. But to argue for South-South trade today is as ridiculous as Europe, as arguing for Europe to Europe trade in the 16th century or the 15th century. Europe was poor compared to the East. That's why they wanted a route to the East, because they want trade over there. So, and they say the rich is there, and they say your prosperity is there. When you trade with them, you not trade with some poor European fiefdom. What are they going to do? Other than some marginal increase here and there, that can't do nothing. All right. So Meloman mentioned Somalia and anarchy. But like when I'm reading the materials, you know, it's so promising. First of all, I had already qualified my support of the intervention. You understand? I remember 2010 when things were very destabilizing, and to think that something worse than that, which is going on in Haiti now, I mean, of course, the first thing you want to think about is how you can solve the problem in the short term. You understand? But like I said, the critique of that position is correct. Foreign intervention not going to help. It might help in the short term, but it always fall apart eventually. So, like I said, it was a very tenuous support of the foreign intervention thing. Like I said, trade-offs, just have to look for the better trade-off. And I will admit right now, say I don't know what is the better trade-off. I really don't know.
Yeah.
From my long experience with Haiti and my reading of Haitian history, I don't know. But he mentioned Somalia and capitalism and anarchy. Comparing Somalia with Haiti, tricky, you know. Because remember, says Somalia had a long tradition of trade going back millennia. Yeah, Punt and them place there. You understand? So it's not like it's something new Somalia come up with. It's just that colonialism and the post-colonial dictatorship in Somalia, the centralized power in the state and everything just implode. You understand? The state apparatus in Somalia, especially from the colonial period, imposed something that was foreign to Somalia. You understand? But when they got rid of that, in the longer run, they went back to a tradition of trade and civilized living, etc. With Haiti, it's different. Haiti never had that tradition. It certainly never had that under slavery. And after so-called independence in 1804, they did not have that. What you had was a tradition of using the military, the mulattoes as well as the blacks, using the military to oppress the Haitian people. And when Aristide dismantled the military, he used the gangs instead, because in an era like that, you can use reason and logic and books to convince people to come to your side, because the other factions, them coming in hard. So I can understand why he would do that, but what I don't understand is why leftists try to pretend as if, or the RC supporters try to pretend as if that wasn't the case. I mean, Professor Pierre basically admitted.
I have to interrupt that misrepresentation, because we had a whole conversation and what you just said was never done. I've never heard anybody try speak on this particular matter and act as though
Imhotep denied it.
Was not. I don't know what happened in the chat, but you made a generic blanket statement a while ago, and it's just inaccurate, especially based upon the conversation that we had earlier, right? So
okay.
Yeah. However, the misrepresentation,
like I was saying before, got interrupted. Like I was saying,
the misrepresentation is the idea that basically Aristide was a gangster, and that is the propaganda that was put out there, yeah, by the Bakra imperialists in order to demonize Aristide. Now, it comes back to what I was saying earlier. They arm people in your nation to attack you, and then when you arm yourself to defend yourself, them call you a gangster. And that is what has been taking place on these panels for the last how long? Because we've actually addressed it today. But every time we mention Aristide, he's been referred to as a gangster.
All right. Yeah? So
today, to clarify, actually, the Americans armed people in the nation against this man and the movement that he was leading, and some of the youth them that were for him and his party began to pick up arms to defend themselves against what was being perpetrated in the nation. And he stepped in to try and quell the killing and took compromises that were imposed upon him by the imperialists for the sake of staving off some of the killing that was going on.
Like I was saying before.
Trade off.
I never say anything about RC being a gangster. Look, as I said before, the Haitian Haitian military is what the presidents traditionally use as for them bucketive, yeah, to impose whatever condition, whether taxation or oppression or duties, etc. Then use that to oppress the people. And of course, if him get rid of the military, he going to use FEMA thing to defend himself, defend quote unquote. But in that vein, you cannot now turn around and say, well, Papa Doc, him formed the secret police called Tonton Macoud and him this and him that and re. Because as I said before, Haitian history follow a particular pattern. Whether you are pro-American or anti-American, whether you are pro-leftist or anti-leftist, it follows the same tradition where the politics is so fractured and it is so zero-sum in thinking that you better come strapped. Yeah, you understand? Because ain't nobody compromising. There's no rich tradition of trade like in Somalia and in Eastern Africa that was disrupted by British colonialism. Haiti never had that. You understand? So if you take away the state in Haiti, that's what you're going to get.
So coffee.
Hold on. One last thing. What anarcho-capitalists propose is not to do away with the state immediately. Well, at least some of them, not to do away with the state immediately, because obviously, if for a country that doesn't have liberal traditions, right, then doing away with the state and tell them to go and trade with each other is going to produce the kind of problems that we see in Haiti, where short-term anarchy, so-called anarchy, but because that's not real anarchy. Anarcho-capitalism means people consent to whatever security forces that they employ. Whereas in Haiti, you have gangs that impose their will on the people, which is just like the state. So you can't even call what's happening in Haiti anarchy. It's just little states trying to oppress the Haitians.
All right, cool. Right, I'm gonna take one more comment. I know Mellerman wants to come through. I'm gonna take this comment and then I'm gonna wrap up the show. Okay. Yeah. So give thanks. Oh, was that your hand? All right. I'll take it. Yeah. And then we're gonna wrap up the show. Wait. Oh no, Mellerman, got you.
Oh yeah. Nah, the only thing I just heard him say, like him trying to dress it up a certain way, like if a people don't have a liberal culture or something like that from before, then you need the state. That seemed to be what he implied, like if a people don't have liberal traditions, then you need the state. So it would beg the question, which people have had liberal conditions, and which cultures you consider to have had liberal conditions, and then what qualifies it and these type of things. But that's the only thing it seemed pretty
I'm gonna suggest that we don't have time to answer that question today because I want to wrap up the show. All right, we'll definitely be able to get to it in a future show. I could be cheeky and give the answer, but I'm not going to. All right, so we're gonna leave that lesser, stick up in, and we'll come back to that question in a future show. Go ahead, Imhotep. You're there on mute, King. Oh yeah, you're not on mute, but I can't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, so 4 things I have to say. I actually wanted to speak from like way earlier in the show. So some of the things are going back to the earlier segments. But so in reverse order, I think the argument that Europe trading with itself in the 16th century is comparable to Southern Hemispheric nations trading with themselves now is a foolish comparison from the beginning, because Europe needed to leave to get natural resources, whereas the South is already full of natural resources. That is why those Western nations are in there in the first place, doing their colonialism.
I was gonna say, my brother, and just to because I wasn't even going to make the point, but because you've raised it, let us bear in mind, that when we talk about Western nations going to the East for trade, one of the ways they secured their supremacy was actually destroying the industries of the places that they went. Yeah, this is a fact of history. In China and in India, they literally destroyed the industries to secure their supremacy in the market. After taking the people their knowledge, they literally destroyed. Yes. So to act like it, they went there to, and anyway, I don't know. It's just even the history that is being run down as though that we could talk about the history of Haiti absent the history of enslavement and colonialism, right? You know what I'm saying? It's just the people them in Haiti, them now know political maturity. It's nonsense. I don't have time for it this evening. I don't have time. Listen, I don't have the patience for it this evening. The people them in Haiti deserve better than this. And I'm just not gonna have it. Yeah? We are not going to belittle and demonize and infantilize and cannibalize our people in Haiti. It naga go on this platform, yeah. It naga go on. Sorry, Imhotep. Finish your statement, please, King.
Right. Yeah. So that was the first one. Second one. I'm openly not an economist, so I don't know if this is true or not. But regarding the minimum wage in Haiti, he was suggesting that if you raise the minimum wage, because the levels of productivity in Haiti are so low that it's going to put people out of work, etc., etc. And I wanted to suggest that maybe the levels of so-called productivity are low in Haiti because the wages that they are being offered are not sufficient, so they are doing other things to get money rather than going and working in people's industry. I don't know how true that is.
That is a part of it, but it's also because economic warfare has been waged against Haiti. Yes, industries have been destroyed in Haiti. These people have gone in and destroyed the agricultural sector. So it's not that Haiti is poor.
The government destroyed.
Haiti is poor. Yes, the American government, for the sake of
and the Asian government too.
Its own corporation. The reality is, that industries in Haiti have been literally destroyed by outside forces.
And that the Asian government.
That acts like the issue in Haiti is just simply a lack of productivity outside of the context of economic warfare. Is the height, the literal height of being economical with the truth, to put it diplomatically, and being damn lie, to just be honest and truthful.
I never said that.
This is the worst. I don't have the patience for it this evening. I'm sorry. It naga go on. Yes, we have a situation in which literally, the agricultural industry in Haiti was destroyed by a military occupation that then replaced the produce of Haitian farmers with produce from America, cheap produce from America that was being subsidized by the American government. This is literally what happened.
So cheap goods is bad.
Even pig farming, even pig farming was killed off in Haiti. Even pig farming was killed off in Haiti in the 1980s. Then them say, well, because of the market dictates, yes, the market dictates that because of low productivity, you can't up your minimum wage. But the market was dictated by the imperialists. If the market dictates that you can't up the minimum wage, how come the market dictates that the Americans can invade and destroy your agricultural industry? Why does the market allow for economic warfare on the part of the Americans, but not allow for raising the minimum wage for the benefit of the Haitian people? Why go on? Listen, sorry, Imhotep. Finish your statement, because we can't bother with it. Listen, forewarn is forearmed. I told you today I don't have the patience for it.
But screaming not going to nothing.
And if you can't take it, fly away. But this is about the Haitian people. Yes, and we now beg no friend. We stand with the people of Haiti, and we will defend their honor. Fire for America, fire for Britain, and fire for France. Now beg no friend. There is no negotiation with terrorists. Right here now. Go ahead, Imhotep.
Yeah, so the final two, I actually, unfortunately, I didn't get to hear pretty much anything that Sister Kushti said. So I hope that I'm not gonna, go over something that she had addressed already. But you had mentioned the Alliance of Sahel states and whether or not they were anti-imperialist as opposed to simply anti-French. And you were mentioning, well, AFRICOM is still in some of these nations. I don't know the reality about that, but I did see quite recently that Niger seems to have kicked out the American military from their country. So it may be the
have heard
beginning.
that. Sorry, Robert Imhotep. Sorry, I should have qualified that if that was the statement at the time when we were discussing it in November. That was a concern at the time. There have been developments since then. I'm not saying that it's absolutely they've kicked them out. I'm not sure, but I have heard of things in that direction. So you're right to bring that to me, and thank you for bringing that to me, so I can correct the record on that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And just I don't know how far along the process that is, or if it is even a sign of further expulsions, let's say, to come in the rest of the Alliance of Sahel states. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that to their attention. What was the first one? Sister Kushti had asked in the private chat behind if she could ask a question a little bit earlier as well.
I apologize, sis. Sorry, I didn't see it. I apologize. I apologize. All right, I will allow your questions, because I've allowed everybody else to have their one more comment. So I will allow. Yeah. Is that it?
No, just one more.
Go ahead.
One more, yeah. And then in the context of pretty much the entire discussion we've been having, well, tonight on my side, under international law, there's something called sovereignty, right? Nation states have sovereignty. All of these interventions are in contravention of the sovereignty of nation states. Now, I don't want to say you belabor the point, but as in you elaborated on the point that those mistakes are ours to make, or those mistakes are the Haitians to make. You understand? Those mistakes are Ghana's to make, etc. And if someone were to suggest in the UN that because currently, well, as the Professor Jemima Pierre was suggesting, if what do you call it? We were to suggest, well, we invade the UK and give them a new government because they have an unelected prime minister for the last however long. The last 3 prime ministers or something have been unelected, something like that, right? In the United States, you have somebody who could potentially be a felon before the end of the election cycle running for president. Like, let's invade the United States because of that reason. That would be incomprehensible on the international stage at the United Nations. But the idea that we can simply just advocate for interventions, advocate for invasions of African nations, of southern nations, because really within the last 50 years, it's been southern nations all over the globe. It's hypocrisy at the highest level, literally at the highest level, because it is international law. You understand? So, like, I did also miss, Brother Coffee, a little bit of your contribution at the beginning. So I don't want to mischaracterize what you were saying about American intervention, but I don't know what scope of intervention you were advocating or whatever, but the idea that we would advocate for another nation that is not an ally of that nation invading the nation to so-called restore democracy or to implement democracy, I think it's just so, I don't know, it's historically naive.
You know what's interesting though about your last statement though, Imhotep, is that one thing that we don't have to guess about is the results or the outcome of an American invasion. America has been invading and bombing Haiti since the 1800s. Bear that in mind. Yes, since the 1800s. We have over 100 years of American intervention in Haiti to know what the results are going to be. We're not forget about that one day. Yes, and them not change. It's not that there's been a revolution in America. Yeah, right, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and a different regime will run. Them not change. A rascal. Them not change. Mr. Them not change. We don't have to guess about that. We know what's going to happen. So we can't afford to play footloose and fancy free, because we're there on an online conversation right here now. And we can talk flippantly. When we advocate these things, people are going dead, When America invades, people dead.
People not dead now. How are their ass?
This guy and so he's gonna make that statement as though people just are dead. People haven't been dead in for the last how long? With an
Yeah, so
American
why you bring it up?
and funded.
Why you
No,
bring
I'm
it up
not.
for?
I'm listening, and you remember it's the point that I made earlier, you know, and I spoke about in response to Milliman concerns. Yeah, we cannot treat the current moment as though it is the genesis of instability. The nation has been unstable. The nation has been under a military occupation silently for 20 years. The system said a while ago. So why we go on like so, but that now is not a problem, see, because it's American military, so that's stability. So now when people are dead, we must focus on it. But when it is, listen, Kushti, bring your question, come sister.
I was gonna, it was more about what we was discussing earlier with the original show. So you was mentioning, and the sister was mentioning about, you know, because I was talking about Kenya, and you said that they've kind of ditched that and gone for CARICOM. And I just wanted to know a bit more of what CARICOM has signed up for in regards to their input into Haiti, because obviously some of the concerns in regards to Kenya's the language barrier, not understanding the culture, this thing about it being a gang on gang issue, which, you know, the Empress came in and kind of said that that's not necessarily the case. But if you are saying that, how are they going to differentiate between what gang is in another gang? You don't understand the culture, you don't understand the language. And, you know, the fact now that it kind of seems that it was more government or international government against the people. What's CARICOM's kind of position in this?
CARICOM's position is America's position. So as the sister said, they basically had a 3-hour meeting without any Haitians in the meeting, and then when they invited the Haitians in the meeting, they told them basically that in order to even sit at this table and negotiate, you have to accept a certain amount of terms. And one of the major terms was American intervention and American presence and forces that are funded by America presence in the nation. Yeah. So that's one thing that we have to go into that they had to agree to. Yeah. There are some others, but I'm not clear on the details, so I don't want to go into them. But in future shows, we'll definitely detail that in a bit more. A bit more extensively, yeah. So that's that. I hope that answers your question in brief, sis.
Yeah. Do we know anything in regards to foots on ground? Do we know that that's definitely
as in
happen? Like them bringing?
Well, bearing in mind they were kind of already there.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing.
As it stands, they're trying to front their intervention through CARICOM. So what I would imagine, and this is not certified, but what I would imagine is that we can expect to see more Western funded sources on the ground, but using boots on the ground from Barbados and from Jamaica in particular, and a few of the other Caribbean nations. Yeah, that's what it looks like based upon the conversation that happened in the moment. But we will see how it goes in the coming weeks. Brothers and sisters, thank you for coming through. If everybody can excuse themselves from the platform while I close up the show. Want to remind everybody for about episode 2 of our current podcast on stream right about now. Democracy under fire, delving deep into the political theater of Ghana in the lead up to the general election in December 2024. We welcome activist, organizer, and writer Bonchi Anyete as our regular co-host and analyst, breaking down the dynamics in his unique and entertaining way. Tune in to our very first show, Decoding Ghana's Political Theater, Tuesday, the 27th of February, 2024, from 8 p.m. GMT, live on gotkushTV. And we look forward to you joining us every 4th Tuesday of the month throughout 2024. Ghana, democracy under fire. This is a show not to be missed. So check it out, brothers and sisters. Ghana, Democracy Under Fire, your monthly podcast where we delving into the political situation in Ghana, leading up to the general election coming in December, brothers and sisters. Do stay tuned. There is also a general election happening in Jamaica and also happening in the United Kingdom of Great Britain. We're going to be profiling all of the above in some way, shape, or form on gotkushTV throughout the coming year. Brothers and sisters, the situation in Haiti is very, very serious, and our people in Haiti have suffered a lot. One of the things that I'm very, very aware of is how economic arguments are used to couch Western military interventions and imperialist agenda. The people who bring economic arguments in order to justify the political designations and dictates of nations like Britain and America know very well how their militaries operate in the world. Yeah, they know this. Okay, and so the economic argument is designed to put a logic to Western political objectives and give you the impression that if you only follow their objectives and their dictates to the letter, there will be a trade-off from which you benefit. This has never happened in Haiti, let it be known. Yes, this has never happened anywhere in the Caribbean. Simple as it take it, the entirety of the Caribbean has been following the dictates of Western governments and multilateral institutions since independence, and certainly since the 1970s and 80s. When you see what is taking place in Haiti, let it be known that what we see in Haiti is the deliberate orchestration of the American government, the French government, the British government, and its institutions, corporate and otherwise. Let it be known. Let it be known. And I said at the beginning of the show, I don't have the time for it today. The situation in Haiti and our people in Haiti deserve better. And I look forward to the day, brothers and sisters, when we are intolerant to the logic of white, Bakra imperialism. Marcos Mosiah Garvey said, any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. He also talks about the white man's propaganda and the fact that they have given to the world, from their Bible to their yellow newspaper sheet, a narrative that is designed to justify their supremacy to the disadvantage of the rest. Of the human race. I look forward to the day, brothers and sisters, that when we're like Jean-Jacques Dessalines said, we get tired to even see them name round way. And dispel from our minds the logic that is designed to justify Fidem supremacy over we. I look forward to it. We can't always, engage with the Western imperialist narrative. Sometimes you have to exit out of the room and dash it away because it wastes time. Yeah, you see that, the same people that are coming out, we need free speech, conversation, they're not going to go among the people them in the American establishment and discuss the same when it comes to the conversations that they don't entertain. Try call Hamas a freedom fighting movement right now within the context of the American establishment. And when I see these people that come to me going among those people and telling them that they should consider Hamas and entertain the conversation about whether Hamas is a freedom fighting movement, maybe I'll be more diplomatic. But right now, our people in Haiti deserve better. And I make no apology for being impassioned in the defense of our people in Haiti. I love them. I love them. Can't done. Because I understand what our people in Haiti have had to sacrifice for standing up for us. And I am determined that the sacrifices of those ancestors and the people living right here now are not sacrifices that are going to be made in vain. I'm impassioned by that. And we make no apology. No apology. The other day I went on a march that was in support of our brothers and sisters in the Congo. Yeah? That was seeking to raise awareness of the crisis that is taking place in the Congo. Stay tuned. Footage on that soon come to gotkushTV. But I know what our brothers and sisters in the Congo have had to sacrifice. For the wealth that is in the soil of that nation, and for the sake of the fact that they had a prime minister in 1960 who was prepared to stand up to Bakra imperialism. I know what our people in the Congo have had to sacrifice, because when the Bakra imperialists imposed a president on them, they were prepared to rise up in the 1960s and go to war with that regime. I know what our people had to suffer, because the American government sent mercenaries to Congo in defense of their puppet. And from that day until now, our people in the Congo have had to sacrifice. Me know we not play games with them thing there. Diplomatic person, generally speaking, you know, very, very diplomatic person, generally speaking. But when fire for blaze, and we make no apology for it. What is taking place in Haiti is critical. And it is time our people wake up. It is time our people wake up. To the cost of failing to understand the critical nature of this moment. Let those who want to play footloose and fancy free and align themselves with Bahrain's imperialism and be minions and peons and serfs at the foot of master. Let them do it. But don't expect to come around here and be given free reign. Not a Nagosa. Because we know when this platform concludes for the evening, your interests and your allegiances are taken care of by the hegemony that currently dominates the life of our people in Haiti and the Congo. And you will not be raising your voice in critique of them while you serve their interests on a daily basis and come in here and serve their interests on the Pan-African platform. Do not expect this for this to be a platform for propagating the narrative of Bakra imperialism and Mozungu dominance. We make no apology. We stand with the people of Haiti. We stand with the people of Haiti unapologetically. And with that, brothers and sisters, we say, Tendai Mwali, be thankful unto the Mother, Father, creative life force of the universe. Kodzai Muzimu Mokolo, we give praises unto our great ancestors. Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodie, African power and African liberation for all African people. Aibobo, Bon combat, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Chercher, le compte pour nous vivre, le compte pour nous toutes qu'à vivre en paix, vrai. Ouais, dem chanter, chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Ouais, dem chanter, chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Ouais, dem chanter, chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. C'est chita n'a gardé. Nous c'est tout pour la vie menacée, vrai. Fondé de me chanter, chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Fondé de me chanter, chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Muncho oulo. Fondé de me chanter, chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Fondé de me chanter. Toi problème dans le pays, oui. Fais-nous pas qu'à joindre. Le côté pour nous, tout qu'à vivre en paix, vrai. M'oblige à chanter, chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Obligé chanter, chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Muncho oulo. Frère, muncho oulo. Frère, muncho oulo. Frère, muncho oulo. Frère, obligé chanter, chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. M'oblige chanter, chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. M'oblige chanter, chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Oulo, 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 mon compère, oui. Muncho oulo. Frère, oui. Muncho oulo. Frère, oui. Muncho oulo. Mes amis, comment nous y est? Comment nous y est? En bas tête chargée, ça y est. Comment nous y est? Comment nous y est? Comment nous y est? Comment nous y est? Eh oui, oui. Comment nous y est? Comment nous y est? En bas fond corps de ça y est. Comment nous y est? Comment nous y est? Comment nous y est? Comment nous y est? Eh, mon choulo. Muncho oulo, muncho oulo, muncho oulo. Eh, mes amis, comment nous y est? Comment nous y est? En bas tête chargée, ça y est. Comment nous y est? Comment nous y est? Comment nous y est? Comment nous y est? Eh oui, oui. Comment nous y est là? Comment nous y est? En maman suit fait ça, comment nous y est? Comment nous y est? Comment nous y est? Comment nous y est? Muncho oulo.